these numbers were, and then it was almost like she accidentally grabbed back from
your mics are hot. You're streaming.
That's why we're streaming.
It was weird. She was supposed to meet me here early. And obviously I said she wanted to wear these.
Actually, this was interesting because there were two numbers here that were off. One was off $10, one was off. So I don't know what, but basically the same there. So there was like an additional since May. So never done that.
Oh.
Just interested in whatever's going on. You ready?
I just didn't know what you guys were saying if you wanted to broadcast. That's why I turned them. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Some of the
Anyone here from her?
That's right.
We're making changes.
Yes, you are.
All right, everybody ready? Okay. I am calling to order the July 19th, July 19th school board meeting for the Huron City Schools. Mr. DeMarco, if you could call the roll, please.
Mrs. Hartley?
Here.
Mrs. Henner? Mr. Jones? Here. Dr. LaFay?
Here.
Mrs. Mast?
Here. All right, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We need an approval for the agenda this evening. So moved.
Second.
Mr. DeMarco?
Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Henner's absent. Dr. LaFay?
Yes.
Mrs. Mast?
Yes. Okay. We also need an approval for the minutes from our regular June meeting and then also our special meeting in July.
So moved.
A second. Okay.
Dr. LaFay?
Yes.
Mrs. Mast?
Yes.
Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Mrs. Henner's absent. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay. We are going to move on to number 5 on our agenda. That is audience community participation. At this time, anyone from the audience is able to approach the podium to raise a concern with the board. You will have 5 minutes. We have a 30-minute participation cap, so each participant will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time? Wherever you're most comfortable.
That mic will pick
Oh,
up,
actually,
'cause
yep.
they might not be able to
Yep.
hear on the with the air going. Sorry.
Not having her just state their assignments, correct? Just. If
Hi.
you could just state your name.
My name is Kristen Allen, and I live at 3317 Harvest Ridge Drive. I'm a community member and parent of 5 total kids. I'm going to propose shifting the start of the school time in the morning for 1 hour later. I'll give you some reasons here in a minute, but to be clear, I did talk with a Huron staff member. I was directed to speak with the director of operations. I tried emailing, calling, and left a couple messages and hadn't heard back. So that's why I'm here. There's a multitude of studies showing all kinds of benefits of later start times. There's been other schools in Ohio that have adopted this successfully. Just a few to name from the U.S. Department of Education website. A 50-minute later start time showed a significant impact in student achievement, decreased tardiness, decreased disciplinary actions, increased attendance, and increased graduation rates. Different study, same website. Teens with less sleep have increased depression, increased substance abuse, versus teens with a better amount of sleep showed higher achievement on national and state achievement tests and overall improvement in grades. This one really got to me when a school shifted their school times from 7:35 to 8:55, which is a pretty big swing, almost an hour and a half. They showed a decrease in teen car accidents 70%. We could be saving lives here. This is important. I think if we're looking at post-COVID, depression, isolation, these kids need every advantage that they can get right now. We have a large majority of working parents in our community, which is, I believe, typical for most communities. So we're getting out around 2:30 to 3 o'clock on most of our buildings. That leaves kids unsupervised for several hours. So this is when you have teenage promiscuity, drug use, and a huge jump in juvenile crime from 2 to 6 p.m. So looking at all this research, this is really a no-brainer. Many may argue that sports are a reason, but even with busing kids to Danbury for swim and two junior high and high school, that's able to be achieved. We're looking still at 6 to 8 hours, almost a full workday from the time that kids get out of school before bedtime. I don't think we need more studies. I don't think we need a committee for this. I think this is just something that is common sense we need to pursue. I haven't been to a board meeting in a while, so I'm not sure how this proceeds, but I would like to respectfully request an answer in a public forum so that other parents are able to see the results of my request. One, how did we arrive at the current time? And number 2, how do we go about changing this?
Kristen, I can let you know that in this forum for public participation, this is a time for you to address the board. This is not a back and forth dialogue. I am happy to have our Director of Operation, Denise Zilski, our Interim Superintendent, Julie McDonald, to contact you either through a phone call or a meeting if you'd like to sit down with them and talk about the questions you have. But right now is not a back and forth dialogue, unfortunately.
Okay, so who should I expect to return information from?
From
Okay.
Julie.
And is there a way to get that information out to other parents that may be interested in watching this and would like an answer as well?
There is. I just don't have a good answer on what that would look like because you're asking directly for the information to be put out there. So let's talk and see what that looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to address the board at this time? Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I'm Amy Springer. I'm the vice president of the Huron Athletic Booster Club, and I live at 403 Winona. So I'm here just to kind of give a brief summary. We normally meet in July. We normally meet every month, but this month we're not meeting because we have our membership drive and our stadium cleanup. So I just want to kind of go over just a few things, just to kind of keep everybody in the community and the board up to date on our boosters. So we're getting ready for our membership drive, which is this coming Saturday at the stadium from 10 to 12. As of right now, our current mail-ins and online memberships are at $4,200. Last year, our students raised at our stadium in 2 hours $21,000, totaling about $27,000 profit last year. So so far the drive is really going well and right on track. As of last Friday, we mailed out our program contracts, which are our athletic program. Last year, this program raised about $10,000. It's been a really good way of fundraising for us. So we're hoping we'll get a good representative from that. Stadium sign contracts will go out next week. Our program ads and contracts for stadium are on our website as well as our membership, HuronBoosterClub.com. Last year, we did not ask for any renewals for any companies at the stadium because of COVID. If you recall, in 2020, only parents were allowed to come to the games. So we felt like it was the right thing to do to just sit back a year. So we did that. If all companies ask for renewals this year and want to come back, that'll be about $12,000, which would be great. Our senior group picture that we do every year, the big banner that's hung at the stadium of all the seniors. I did give the board the red sunglasses. That's kind of a tradition that we do for our seniors. That will be this Sunday at 10 a.m. That's a really great time for our liaisons and to get the poster pictures and parents as well of the seniors. I got to tell you, I'm probably so excited today because we are going to be having credit card machines at our concession stand this year, which is really exciting. We've been asked for a lot of playoff games, a lot of different events like the Huron Invite. We have been turning people away that have a lot of families, and they're just going to be so happy this year that those 2 machines are up and running today. So that was a really exciting moment for me to have that done. So I can't thank Denise, Zilski, Lyle, Edinger, our maintenance crew, Mr. Kamela for getting this help from them. So anyway, our uniforms and equipment has been purchased, and we're in the process of still purchasing for this year. I like to kind of run down real quick. We're buying boys soccer shorts, all white varsity jerseys, girls soccer warm-ups and backpacks, volleyball hitting and passing machine. The girls are already working out on those, and it's been amazing, I guess. 7th and 8th junior high boys basketball uniforms, girls tennis jerseys, girls varsity basketball, home and away uniforms, football, custom goalpost pads, new pylons, and we just purchased 2 sets of red polywood Adirondack chairs and tables for the stadium. There's always sometimes a little extra stuff here and there that just comes up, and we're usually prepared for that. So anyway, one of the things that I saw in the paper, every once in a while, the Erie County Community Foundation will have for nonprofits, and this was on the front page of the Register last week, I believe. And they had a big donation, and they're reaching out to all nonprofits in the Erie County area if you are interested in a grant. So I did apply for one. I would like to hopefully replace the east fence here with a black chain link, and this whole entire south side up to about end of the concession stand with a black aluminum custom fence. And so we did put in a grant for about $76,000, and I'm going to keep the board updated on what we receive, if we receive anything for that. If not, we'll look in other ways. We might do it in phases, but I think it would look really nice and to make our stadium look great. The existing fence, I had a company come out, look at everything. The existing fence, he said, you know what, it looks fantastic. I would highly recommend to have a professional come out and possibly spray paint that black, so then it would match the rest of everything. So everything would look matched. But he said, really, we walked around the entire existence of the stadium, and he said it's in good shape. So he goes, I would leave it and go from there. Swim team. Randy Lair approached me about a timing system. We currently rent space at Danbury High School in their aquatic room. The system would help with the times, and it's a scoreboard. It's a total of $30,000. Danbury would like to split the costs with Huron City Schools. I talked to Dr. Tapman earlier about how do we do this when we are running space. So that's something that I guess we can discuss later at a later date. Stadium cleanup is July 31st. Mulch has been ordered for that. We kind of started a new tradition. The football team puts all the bags of mulch down, which is a ton of bags, all over the trees and stadium. And then the soccer team, the boys soccer spreads all the mulch, and then the girls soccer team does the press boxes and ticket booths. So that's worked out really, really well. This is kind of a thing we really don't want to have 250 kids out there, just focusing on, and it gives the kids that work out at the stadium, gives them some ownership to keep the place really clean. It's their place where they compete. So that works out really good. And the last thing that's kind of exciting is we got asked back this year to the Bash on the Bay Country Music Fest. And this year, Zach Brown Band and Brad Paisley are performing. So this is something that it's special. We're very lucky as a school to be able to be asked, because I went to the meeting last year and everyone looked at me and said, how'd you guys get here? Because we're all the way this way. Usually it's around the Sandusky, Port Clinton, Catawba area. And so I was really kind of excited to be there, and we got asked back, so that was good. So we did everything right, I guess. So that'll be about 26 volunteers per day going over, and I did order some cowboy hats to sell, and so that'll be kind of fun. So so that's about it for me. And if you have any questions, I did type this out, so because there's a lot of information. If you have any questions, if you need a copy of the quote for the fence, I have that, and I can email that over too. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. We are moving on then to item number 6, which is our superintendent report. Dr. McDonald?
Thank you. Just to recap our participation in Riverfest, I want to thank everybody for coming out and participating. Our admin team did a little debrief about what worked and perhaps maybe what we could change for next year. But all in all, a good time was had by all. So appreciate that with everybody, and then the visitors down at the tent, also to appreciate everybody working at that. Our admin team coming over as well. So good traffic, good time, great food. Our summer work update. Denise's crew, both maintenance and custodial, are doing a fabulous job. As I said, the administration team met last week to go over that list of projects, and they are knocking things off. Typical maintenance, but also this summer too. We're hanging the 25 smart TVs that we ordered. We decided to do that in-house after we got a couple of quotes, and Al and Denise felt that we could do it along with everything else we had going on this summer. So they've actually have pretty much finished them. We had a couple of rehang and adjustments as well. And they're also doing a lot of the finish work around where those TVs are being put. So they're not exactly swap that out and put the different sizes, different cabling, things like that. So the kitchenette downstairs, you remember that project that started off with a small hole, became a big hole. The guys have that all put back together now. So the bathrooms next door and all that excavation work, it looks very nice, and they did a great job. So again, trying to keep as much in-house and costs low with that project as well. If you're in and about the buildings, I just ask that you don't step on any wet wax. Our custodians are very proud of their floors when they get them done. Communication's been great about what sections they're closing off, and trying to keep teachers out, which is a great problem because we know teachers want to get in their classrooms, but don't want anybody scratching the floors before everybody can see it put back together for open house and whatnot, which is 5 weeks away, in case anybody's counting. So, so that's what I have for us tonight.
Great. Thank you very much. Next, we will go to our treasurer's report. Mr. DeMarco?
Thank you. Mine's going to be a little atypical this month, just being my first month. But if you looked over our financials that Betty submitted, they look a bit different, a little generic. She ended our contract with Forecast 5, and they literally, as soon as they knew, they cut her off from the software. So uh, they look different. The data is the same. It just doesn't have all the extra stuff. So I did this handout, the general fund report, because this is statutory requirement. This will be in every month. And this is how I would like to, I mean, I can change it, but going forward, it shows a fiscal month over month from last year to this year comparison and tracks any variances. And then there's little narratives that, explain to the board why. And month over month is tough sometimes when it's just that it's a 1 month snapshot. Sometimes it's just timing and receipting of when money comes in or when we pay for things. But over the course of the year, you do develop trends, and the bottom line is literally the bottom line on this report that shows you how we're doing expenses over revenue for the year. So the district has had a stretch where we were deficit spending year after year after year, and this is our data from last year. So fiscal 22, the district finished in the green for the year, which is good. And I'm new. You guys who were here, you kind of know some of the reasons. We have a temporary shield from ESSER monies that are helping in some areas. It's not a good thing. It's not sustainable, but not having a full-time superintendent treasurer, in the short run, it was some cost savings. So rolling into this year for fiscal 23, we'll have the same expenses that go up, steps, base increases, things like that. So this is a good way throughout the year to measure. It's almost like a mini 5-year forecast, but really it's a 1-year forecast almost, to track how we're doing this year versus last year. And some of the narratives I put in are not accurate. I wanted to get this out, like something for you guys to see for this meeting, but all the actual data is, the numbers are correct. So that's the general fund report. And then I'll continue to do the cash reconciliation. That's required by law. The cash summary, that's just a report from our software, so that shouldn't change. The all checks or the disbursement summary, you'll see all the spending, anything that went out. The investment portfolio, I think it's a good idea. That's not required, but I like that the district does that. And I think I've mentioned this already, that one of our investment advisors, we're going to be ending that relationship as the investments, and because I think we can do much better with someone else. But you'll have that. I'll keep doing that. The forecast, well, that was the May update, so she included it. But obviously, I'll do the forecast twice a year, and then federal and state grants, I'll keep. And if there's anything else you want, I kind of wanted to have a discussion. Just let me know. I can report anything you want me to report. So that was kind of my big item. And then I have so much paper. I'm also looking to restart the Audit and Finance Committee. So I did find the agenda and minutes from the last time it met, and I might have to call on you just to refresh. So I saw who was there, and I kind of have the idea of what the committee does, but now's a good time to kind of restart it. Maybe organize it by the end of this month and actually plan for a meeting. So almost like a organizational meeting for a committee. And then over time, invite more and more people. So, some of the topics, just a deep study of our finances. I think it's needed. And a little bit of education too, of where the numbers come from and what they mean. We can look back at levy history and what's worked and what hasn't worked. I found some information. So there's already been a cost savings, previous treasurers. So I'm not sure if it was Betty or before Betty. There's some good data in there of cost savings measurements. And then like investments, insurance, So one change, it doesn't require board action, but we're switching our vision insurance. The company, VSP, is going to stay the same, but we found another carrier that's going to cut the cost in half. So it's a small change, but it's good news. Also, and this is, these are things that not everything requires board action, but I think we should talk about everything. So that's what's good about the committee. We use SC View software. We were one of the first districts to announce it, and it's a good program. The kid that started this from Norwalk. At this point, there's 610 districts, I think, all but about 50 of them use SC View. So it's a good story. I'm going to add a module. It costs $2,000, but it's a form flow. So when I have to hand you 300 contracts to sign, there's a workflow, so you can digitally sign, and then we'll send it to the next person. It'll pay for itself just in paper savings. And once we have this module, this is probably a multi-year project just to get it set up, but we can just keep adding things. Salary notifications, it takes time to build these in, but it'll be continued savings. So stuff like that is what we would talk about in audit and finance. I am asking for board approval for the K-12 contract. That's going to replace Forecast 5, and easily it's a $10,000 a year savings, probably more than that. There's some upfront costs when we switch, a one-time cost, but going forward, that's probably $15,000 a year it's going to save us, and I think it's a better product. So that's the one. The other contract is the PEP contract, which is something we've already done. So we just need approval. Dr. McDowell, I was hoping you could help me if someone asked a question, because I read through it, but you're familiar with the PEP contract. If not.
A chance to read through it in the board agenda documents.
Did you want to touch on just the June donations?
I'm sorry. I can see why people don't do the paper. We did receive a $10,000 donation from an anonymous source to the Huron volleyball program. And Domino's Pizza donated to Woodlands Cash, Savista to the Huron Memorial Scholarship, and then Huron Pizza, Norwalk Hardware, Crawford Insurance, Huron Podiatry, Huron Cross Country Program. Woodland staff donated cash for the Butterfly Garden, and South Shore donated again to the cross country program. All in for last month, it was $11,407.50.
I think the last thing, just for your report, I think you had on here the end of year closeouts, your transfers, advances, and appropriations. Did you want to just touch on what you'll be asking for in your recommendations?
As far as, I'm sorry, because those were Betty's reports.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I went through it,
Okay.
and so I can kind of see she was moving funds and documented it through that
Great.
report.
Okay.
That's a question I do have. Is that something you want? Is that did she do that monthly? Okay.
If there were appropriations to be made, if funds needed to be moved to cover, a lot of times it's the lunch, or this time it happens to be athletics. So yes.
Well, okay, maybe I went too much, because I went through the whole report, everything that was reclassed and stuff like that. Yeah, because it was just the one. Yes, I would do that for sure.
Is that all you have then for your report?
Yes. Oh, well.
Because we'll go back for all your recommendations
Okay.
after our executive session.
This is a learning process.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Next, we will be moving into executive session to discuss personnel. I would suggest we probably pick up and go downstairs.
Because it's under summer projects, so
Oh.
it'll be a standing meeting, if you will.
That's okay.
Okay. It's terribly long.
So we will, there will be action taken after this executive session, so sit tight.
We need to vote to go into executive.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion for executive session?
Second.
Henners,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Dr. LaFay.
Yep.
Mrs. Mask.
Yes.
those.
Okay. So can I get a motion to accept the treasurer recommendations, please?
So moved.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Hartley,
Yes.
Mrs. Matt,
Yes.
Mr. Sinners,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Dr. LeFay,
Yes.
motion passed.
We're now moving on to item number 10, and that will be our superintendent recommendations. And as stated previously, we have amended the agenda to remove the assistant superintendent from item C, to suspend that item until the next meeting. So, Dr. McDonald.
Any issues with A, or is that?
We're gonna,
I'm sorry, we need to suspend number, so we need to have a motion to suspend item A also. Well, can you take a vote on suspending item A, please, under superintendent? That's okay.
Motion and a second. Oh, sorry. And the second was? Mrs. Sinners? Dr. LeFay? Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
yes.
Mrs. Mast?
Yes. Okay, so, Dr. McDonald, we'll be starting with item B.
Item B, so this is recommendation for summer work. Our Orton Gillingham tutor Beth was missed on last month's agenda. We have 2 individuals doing our summer gifted testing, and then Chad has started Summer Learning Institutes with PBIS, so you'll see those 3 individuals listed. We have with us in item C tonight. It is my pleasure to recommend Mr. Darius Schaefer as our high school assistant principal and secondary academic coordinator effective on August 1st. In addition to Darius at the high school, I'm also recommending in letter D, Nathan Niemeyer, pending all his paperwork coming from Clemson for the high school math position vacated by Mr. Schaefer. So excited to have Nathan back with us. He was here previously prior to pursuing his advanced degree. So item E, this is our non-public Title I position, Ashley Tapp. This is based on the amount of funds we get that flow through to our non-public, so that hourly position fluctuates each year. So that's, we ask for your approval on that. We have recommendation for the step increases for our administrative assistants as listed. Item G is George Lair's award, going from custodial to maintenance. George is better known as Dave in the ranks, so doing a great job for us. Under resignations, letter H, we have Marcia Sheehan and Trisha Rose Kelly. Both of them are pursuing other opportunities, and we wish them well. Under I, we have a lengthy list of athletic supplementals. J, we have Laura Craig and Jennifer Johnson for our Tiger Kids Club, going well. Item K, Tyler as a classified sub for us this year. Tyler does great work, and his contract is not full year, so we can use him for a sub when he's not doing his regular position. Item L, you'll see there listed 4 individuals for volunteers. M, we have Rachel Dufresne will need paid time off in the fall. Letter N, we have our transportation handbook. Thank you to Denise for getting that ready. Not to be outdone by our gentlemen submitting their recommendations under O for the student handbooks with the noted changes. P is 12 pages of lots of numbers, getting rid of all those items that were over at Woodlands so that Mark can reconfigure classroom space over there. And then item Q, in lieu of disposal items, we had a request from a district south of here asking for hurdles, used hurdles. And as you know, with the boosters and Mr. Coach Lumpton and all their work with getting new hurdles, they've asked, and we said with your blessing that we would donate instead of having them be disposed of. We also said, just so you know, that Mike would be there and orchestrate all of that once you approve. And he is keeping back some of the better, worse ones, if you will, in case something goes wrong with ours. So lastly, under this set of recommendations, I'm also asking for approval on new Spanish materials. When we went online for COVID, Lyle was helping Mrs. Arandula try to find a CD and DVD player because the materials were older than the students using them. So she went through and there's not a lot out there for Spanish materials these days, but she is very confident with this company and what they have to offer, and we can get a multi-year license under this quote. So with that, I ask for your approval on 10 items B through R. It's quite a bit.
I will make that motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Questions? Okay.
Separate item under H.
Oh, sorry. We need to just have him. I was ready to go. That's okay. Sorry.
So I made the motion. Stacy Hartley seconded.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Mrs. Sinners,
Yes.
Dr. LaFay.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so now we're to food service.
Food service. So we knew this was coming. There is an increase in everything. So of course that trickles down to our breakfast and lunch prices for next year as listed. And just to give you an idea, breakfast is staying at the same as it was the last time we were able to charge at the high school in McCork at $1.80. Lunch is going up to $3.40 from $3.10. The reduced price is still the same. That's set by the feds. It's 40 cents. Woodlands breakfast used to be Woodlands and Shawnee $1.55, and lunch was $2.70. So both slight increases. Once approved, Denise will be getting this information out to families, and we'll also be working with families to know that the link is live through final forms for free and reduced assistance. So followed up by item B is the food service handbook. And then lastly, C is not necessarily a vote item, if you will, but just communication to you that we are compliant in all areas of the food and nutrition program here at Huron City Schools. That needs to be made with you. So
you just need a vote on items A and B, correct?
that is correct.
Okay. We have a motion. I'll go ahead and second. And then if we could, do we have any discussion or comments regarding food service? Okay.
Mrs. Sinners,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Dr. LaFay.
Yes. Do we have any board committee reports? If so, we'll start with Dr. LaFay and work our way down.
The joint Huron Recs Department meeting is still suspended through the summer and won't meet until the fall. The athletic Hall of Fame, thank you. Board did meet. Unfortunately, I had the time wrong, so I met individually with Steve, but was allowed to give input and be updated, and that's moving along, so should be right on track for the fall.
I just, I'll let Stacy talk about facilities. I'll just touch on finance, and Paul has touched on that already, but I did call him. He's a whole week into the job, so we're cutting him some slack and not expecting him to jump on a finance committee immediately, but I appreciate that he's ready to get organized and start pulling folks together. We know we have a lot of questions, I think, as follow-up for the public about where we are with our finances, and fortunately, I think the picture looks good this year, and so I know Paul has already talked about, kind of delving into what were some of the factors that were able to reduce our expenses, but increase our revenues. You know, what contributed to those things to get us in the position we're in, and then what does this look like going forward? So we'll be ready to work on that.
I do not have anything.
From a facility standpoint, Cece Hartley, myself met with Dr. Chapman and to kind of get a lay of the land. The OFCC has given us, which is the Ohio Facilities Something Committee, has given us a little bit more information about potential options. So really just kind of like first step talking about potential paths, potential timing, and then really need to kind of step back and set strategic goals as a board before we start to kind of flesh out what the plan would be.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, safety and security, we did have a short meeting. It was concerning the buses, the transportation, and I'm happy to say that Denise has been able to order additional cameras for the buses. It was $7,800 budgeted, available in the budget rather for new cameras, which means we'll go from 3 cameras on a bus to 5, which is much better for the driver. But it also includes an event button, which means the driver will be able to, if something happens anywhere, inside or outside, that driver can just hit that button and it will mark that something happened, and that Denise or whoever will be able to quickly go to that infraction rather than have to go through and search like, oh, I think it's 9 o'clock. Oh no, it was 9:30. I got that right, correct? So I think that's a huge both safety and security issue, and I appreciate that that we met to talk about that. And the only other thing that I can mention is I have the EHOVI treasure evaluation that I'm supposed to complete, and I was wondering if we had talked at a previous meeting about at some point getting together. I was wondering, should I scan that and email that, or give you copies of what they use, or just bring it at a later time or something?
We've never actually shared the EHOVI's treasure.
No, it's blank.
evaluation.
I'm talking about blank. I'm talking about the.
Okay, I thought you meant you wanted
Pardon
to
me.
share
No.
EHOVI's treasure
Sorry.
evaluation. I'm like,
Hello.
okay,
No.
but we've
Just a
never done
blank
that
form.
before.
If we
I
go,
absolutely. If you have that,
do you want me to go ahead and do it, or you want to wait until we're going to work on it? I mean, I'm just.
No,
I'll take it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead and do it now.
Okay.
That would be very helpful.
Okay. That's all I have.
Sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
No, I didn't explain it very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. At this time, I need a motion to enter into executive session pending, or this is discussing litigation. There will not be action after this executive session.
I move we go into executive session to discuss legal and pending court action.
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
and Mrs. Henners. Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Dr. Lefay,
Yes.
Mrs. Mast.
Yes. Thank you. Just for those in attendance, our next scheduled board meeting is August 16th here at 6 p.m.
So at some point,